What's up guys, it's Town here. In today's video, we're going to be going over how top NAE Pro Cam won the solo cash cup for the second time this season. But before I get into this spot for you guys, if you do enjoy my content or find what I'm telling you helpful, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. Also, if you wish to support me in another way, use code TALON.FN in the Fortnite item shop, #ad. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. Alright, we're going to be diving into how Cam won the solo cash cup yet again. Cam has been on an absolute tear with his last 3 placements, including a first place, a 6th place, and another first place, and arguably is the best solo player in the world. Maybe Malibuka also has a claim to that as well with his back-to-back first place performances with the last 2 solo cash cups. Now, this solo cash cup is a little bit different. There is loophole changes and there is mobility changes, so there is a little bit more to analyze here. Now, we're going to be jumping into game number 1, and we're going to pick up with him already having 2 eliminations, barely above Surge. Very risky play to go into this tarp, but he picks up Seek and gets a huge refresh. And as you can see, there is Silence SMGs and Shadow Bombs. Now, you're going to see him use the Shadow Bomb here very, very well to get to a level of elevation safely. However, Grappler is still way more overpowered, in my opinion, than the Shadow Bombs. You can get a lot further with the grapple. He does a great job here of elevating, getting off that layer, and avoiding that other opponent that landed. And so now he's sitting on a good layer of elevation with 500 mats. Looking back, now I will say, if you have a choice between a Stinger and a Silence SMG, make sure that you are picking up the Stinger. The Silence SMG fire rate is not good, nor is the damage. Really good recognition there that he's boxed just to claim that wall and get away from that opponent. And this is something I always talk about. Making this backward stair tarp, this gives you a lot of information on people coming into you for refreshes. Always be doing that when you're boxing up end game, especially if you have hard mats. So you hear Destiny Jesus say, reload, take your time, everyone's going to kind of be shambles. Now, Cam has 500 mats, but he decides, see, look at that fire rate. You can't really get the damage down that you want. Look at this decision here. Notice how he was in center zone, right? He starts off this rotation in center zone, right? And makes an immediate dive to right side. And he does that, 1, you want to be hugging edges, but 2, 1, he sees this opponent over here, so why would he run into that opponent? He knows that there's that opponent there lower that he's kind of forced down with his SMG shot. And so he gets tagged up a little bit from height, but gets ahead and then gets on right side to, again, avoid that congestion. A quick but very important aspect. He's sitting here waiting. Hopefully someone will rotate into him. And this is, again, why I'm not a fan of the Silence SMG. Not a lot of pressure to break through builds. Significantly inferior to a Stinger. Doesn't get any damage there. Decides to immediately leave it. Very, very smart. And then he actually switches back from the right side to left. Now you hear Destiny Jesus calm him. Hey, play your med mist here. He has 16 builds. He decides to drop. Good movement right here. Window. Good shots. He's going to be able to get all that as well. Gets about 400 mats. One thing I also want to talk about, Cam is one of the best players in my opinion in getting out of sticky situations, especially on controller. Now this situation is very, very scary, right? You're tarping through and then look, he has someone get the edits down, drops in his box, and he just remains calm and just quickly resets. Just fantastic work right there. Says, do I have height? No. So he says, reload your stuff. I'm going to play for height, basically. The comms from Destiny Jesus there as well. And this is what Cam is so good for. He's one of the best at taking height. However, this opponent does a good job of forcing him off. He uses the med miss, but kind of Cam wins that war of attrition, right? This is such a good decision to play that med miss. It's another way you can take height. Height is shambles. Cam made him use his last bit of materials, and now Cam has won the high ground, essentially without even really taking it, just basically wasting his opponent's mats so he can take over height, make his opponent go down. That's exactly what ends up happening. He armored floors so he could sit there and heal. Now he has no builds. He waits till it's a 1v1. You hear him to drop right. He only has 1 mat, no point to stay up. Now, this would be an incredible way to win, but this opponent on low ground had a good amount of materials, and Cam is unfortunately going to get stuck kind of here on the low ground layer. There's not much he can really do here, but he's maximized his absolute placement with every little bit of utility that you have, and that's really all you can ask for. A good job to still kind of even challenge it to get out of there. But great game. Second place overall. Now again, use of the Shadow Bombs, like I said, the biggest difference between any of the Cash Cups that we've VOD reviewed this season. He also has Grappler as well, so prioritizing movement even over heals. And this is a great way also to get elevation, especially if you have the grapple. He's only 10 above, so surge management may be a little bit of an issue. And you can see he's already making a play for height, but it pulls back, and he's below surge, so he needs to focus more on that than taking high ground at this current moment. He's going to get a little bit fortunate here. He's going to get a 15 damage tag on an opponent, get him above surge, and get him a refresh. You know, sometimes it just, things can go your way now. That doesn't really help him too much with surge, but at least he gets a little minor refresh, and now he's way above surge, and surge is going to turn off once it hits 30, and it does. So good decision there to hold some restraint for height. And Cam is much better, in my opinion, at taking height later. Tells him don't need that. Notice how he's not full setting for it. He waits for the opponent to kind of get through so he can get the shot, but he's not dropping on. He's not 50-50ing. Gets in, and again, same thing. Looking at, what did I talk about earlier, right? Same exact thing. Using that backward stare to get information. Information. Look for refreshes. Look for height right here. This is exactly why you do this. It gives some protected way to get information. Now, he sees heights only on 2. And you hear Destiny Jesus, kind of the same thing. You see that's what Cam loves to do. That's what's made him so successful, but he said he wouldn't even look for height right now. Now, he just armors the floor so he can get the mini off. The opponent's not going to really do anything with that type of pressure. Good use of catching him, and it gets back again to that right side, dead side, away from that middle congested part. Now, man, this is, again, kind of what I've talked about. How sketch is this? Now, for those of you who do not play controller, this is, in my opinion, the hardest thing to execute on controller. Is when you have a wall edited that's covered. So let's say, notice how that edit is covered. And this is the worst case scenario. On controller, you have to hit a myriad of buttons. You have to hit 3 buttons at the same time to perfectly reset this. And he just does it flawlessly. Boom. Resets it, drops down, gets out of the sticky situation. Good comms from Desus right there. Let him know he has one more Spider-Man so he can make one more box, or essentially 2 more boxes really, if he plays his mats 100%. Does a great job of... He baits this out too. Right? He gets... With him getting ahead with a grapple. I'm going to bring it back just a little bit. So he notices right here through the information of this that this opponent's breaking through, and he already has an etiquette on top, so as soon as he sees a break, he edits it down. Cracks, boom, gets a kill onto Jock right there. Gets some Siphon mats. Again, kind of same thing, wanting to play for height, but doesn't do that. Same thing with the backward stare, trying to get that information. Doesn't do it this time though, places a wall instead. So, Destiny Jesus tells him to drop down the layer. That's exactly what he does. And he says get him 1 box. It's a nice pick on backside. Look at the awareness right here. A minor thing, but super important. That opponent's breaking in, trying to get that loot. What does he do? He just sprays it off. Gets the mats and immediately blocks his back. So he gets the refresh. And basically just doesn't lose the game because of that. Also elevates the layer to get that opponent off of him. You can just keep dropping first. I think this could die. It's kind of fortunate that it's kind of pulled through all these old builds. Notice how active he is still, looking for picks, looking for refreshes, making edits. Even Destiny tells him, says, hey, look for a kill. Sit here on a right hand. Now, again, no mats. He gets it and unfortunately gets focus from height, which kind of stops his push, but a top 6, you'll definitely take it. No more use of the shadow bombs. This was just here earlier. Now, love this right here. Again, the biggest thing you want to do with this grappler is elevate. And this is a very just fast and quick way to do it. He slides up and builds, and he elevates. Gets away from the people below him. Not only that, look how clear his lair is. Even using a little bit of wood for kind of waste tarp as well. Mat conservation. Backwards ramp again for information. This is super stack. This is 40 going in the 4th. And he does have grapple. Again, just the most overpowered thing. You're going to want to prioritize either landing at grapple or keying someone that has a grapple. It pulls back here. And it goes through all his old builds. So he doesn't have to rush anything. He can milk out this placement. He doesn't need a pick. He's still being active, but being protective while being active. Still got grapples, so that's really all he cares about. Gets to that right side, gets on a nice clean layer. No waste of the builds too. A lot of people have a tendency to waste builds with grapple, waste mats, placing extra builds, being a little bit panicky, but Cam does a great job here, just landing, making one box, conserving his mats. See that kid's white. I love that he prioritizes him, even says that kid's white, but he doesn't have to full send anything. Look at his mats, right? 500 with grapple, doesn't need to play anything. Goes through the middle. A good just job of the mantle save. That's much worse if he falls down that into all that congestion. Same thing, backwards stair tarp as well, again for information. Look at this, really, really good. And then just catches in one box. And again, same thing, backwards ramp for information. Now he's getting shot at from height and only has 300 wood mats, so height probably not what he's going to want to play. Love the drop down right there. The drop down makes his grapple so much more effective. And you can hear Destiny Jesus combat, hey, why don't you drop down here? Tom's right here from Destiny Jesus. You can still grapple. And he's just sitting here waiting to backside, biding his time. Waiting till zone's on the back, and you can hear him say, I'm going to play for this. Creates protected. Boom. Fantastic. Really, really smart. One, it's controlled aggression. It's information. It's not a 50-50. It looks like a 50-50, right? He's just exploiting in the box. You know, right here, okay, we've hit him for what? We're at significant health advantage. We've hit him for probably at least 80. So we use our mats to protect ourselves. We exploit in. The opponent tries to go for the max. Doesn't work. Gets that important refresh. He breaks it and then immediately armored walls it off. And now he can even take a little bit, right? Because he has extra splash, but he decides just to go ahead. Same exact thing. Look at how clean that land is. So the comms here is he wants to take for height. And the exact immediate words from Destiny Jesus, wait for zone. One, so you know which way you could kind of angle your builds to. Two, it's just no point to start cranking just willy-nilly. Wait till the zone hits, then start to initiate your play. You hear him straight back. Good mantle play. Good chop. Cone. Gets the wall in front. Wow, that was really, really nice. You could see those kind of day cones being very, very impressive. And very, very useful. And just high ground retakes and end. Cam is one of the best in the game at this, in my opinion. This is why Cam is so successful in solos. It's this late zone height take. This is vintage Cam. Seen it in every season that I've VOD reviewed Cam. Now let's just watch here what he does, because this was... So you hear again, wait for zone. And we're going to watch just kind of the build. So first of all, recognizes, okay, I cover my head. First of all, to initiate the high take, I chop. Now, I have him underneath the ramp. My goal is just high here. I have 500 mats. I don't really need to make an edit and 50-50 on him, right? I want to get height. Now, we just get a little bit back. The opponent does a good job of throwing up ramps, but what is Cam he throws a wall up first to block him off. This is just so clean right here. Placing his own cone and then editing the cone through to get that day cone to basically block him off. Then he throws a wall. Now, he didn't trap him, but what he ended up doing is keeping him on the same layer. As you can see, there's his legs over there. And then he does it again. Day cone, he's trapped again. And so now what does the opponent have to do? I've given up height. I probably don't have so many mats. And what does he do? He immediately drops. And there's a reason why, as you can see in the title, Cam wins this game because of that. Just tells him to recycle old builds here. Smart, he sees that extra mats. Now, it wasn't really worth anything, but at least he got a little bit extra. And now he's playing up layers because his entire purpose of this game is just to literally milk it as long as possible. And pressure anybody sees. Gets a lot of chip damage. He's just trying to clear off the layers, make sure no one's near him so he can at least turn this into a top 2 at minimum. And look how much ammo he has. He could spray for the eternity of the match. And he goes up, and now, as you can hear Destiny Jesus say, it doesn't matter. You win either way. Cracks for 68 as the opponent's trying to psycho him. Opponent steals a kill, 37. Easy victory royale, and that is all because of that height take. That height take was so clean, so textbook. He covers his head, he breaks him out. The use of cone placement allows him to trap his opponent, let him take height, let him get an easy victory royale. It doesn't come much easier than that, and that's all from that aggressive. I got my refresh, I got 500 mats, I have more mats than height. It's night zone, I'm going up, I'm taking height, and I'm winning the game. And Cam has done that all season in solos, and Cam has been doing that ever since he's kind of burst onto the scene. Let's just jump in though into game number 5, and we're gonna take a look at another victory royale. It's a huge fry to put him way above on Surge when he was a little bit down, and we have grapple, so in a high layer again where we want to be with grapple. Max pull. This is one of the best things that, it's a minor thing, but I've heard Cease talk about this too, is if you're on a super high elevation and zone pulls like far de-elevation, is to just drop down and then trust that you can actually grapple. Now, so, as you can even hear Destiny just drop a layer maybe, and so this gives him a nice clear cone or floor to just basically yeet off of. And then he goes from elevation to de-elevation, and it lands right on top of someone. And same thing, creating the backwards ramp. Really smart use of the grapple, and he gets a free siphon from the person I believe he fried. Died to Storm because that was a max pull on that side. Look at his mat, still sitting about 400. Very, very manageable. One more grapple to play with. Does a great job of elevating layers, getting ahead. Same thing with the backward stair. No more grapple. It's a nice crack on that opponent. You can hear him, okay, I'm going to play for that. I've got him weak. Same exact type thing as previous, right? Hits him for 100. And then good decision. And that's just one thing called controller. Like, he doesn't send his whole game because of that. Because he still has mats to play with. That would just extend his game. And you can hear him just leave it. Like, a lot of people will sometimes get tunnel visioned into those kills. Will basically throw their whole entire game just to get that refresh. Once he gets out, just let him go and continue focus on rotate. Especially if you have the mats to do so. So only 250 mats, and now 2 people died. A pretty far pull. And immediately going to that right side, as you can see. Boom, avoiding that middle. He's sitting here waiting, looking for anything he could pick up on. Now, very fortunate to get a one-hit tap onto Chimp. That's just sometimes the way it crumbles. Same thing, awareness. Look at this. And And this is what I talk about. Cam is a master of getting out of horrible situations. Now, just awareness. You hear that smacking? That's the smacking of taking the wall behind him. He places the backwards ramp to protect himself. Now, he realized the opponent has that ramp. Now, I don't think he knows. I don't know if there's probably an edited wall there. There is, as you can see it. So he builds it there, and then he just immediately, once he returns for 90, he knows that opponent has the right-hand peak on it. He's dead in the water, and just does a good job of backing up and making sure to get out of the way. Really just, again, Cam is doing a great job of getting out of very sticky situations, especially on controller. Gets ahead, same thing, places the backwards ramp to get information. I'm going to reiterate that every time because it's such an important thing, especially in these stacked lobbies. Bloom flighting this opponent down here, one layer below him. Here, Destiny Jesus kind of helping out. Hey, reload everything, play slow. Tells him it pulls max. Look at this right here. Now, this is a good time to play the Med Mist. We're getting close to the top 10 now. You see, oh, I can go for height, but then he actually calls himself off here. He goes, actually, no. Look at that. Again, not enough mats. I think he felt, and he realized that height was a little bit more established. So he just gets through. A very rare misclick right there. He wanted to protect that stair off from the opponent to his left. And you're going to hear him here. This is how good Matt...
You can sprint and then box up.
You could sprint and box up. And literally he has just enough mats for a full box. And this is where mat conservation is just so key. Boom. He uses every little last build to protect himself. No more materials. Catches an opponent. Calms whites. Gets a good amount of mats, like 200. Sticky situation. He's getting pressured. He decides to go right through. Look at this. The opponent drops. He boxes him. I love this peek right here. I think this is so smart in my opinion. Now, right, he has him literally full pieced, right? So what is the opponent thinking he's probably going to do? He's going to probably edit the ramp. And then he goes right behind him. The opponent tries to break out. Now he misses the shot. But look how protected he is. He's still in his peaks. Even though it's a 1v1 at endgame, the opponent probably has no mats. He's out of builds right now. Cracks. Tries to build.
I'm so good.
Absolutely crazy. Very, just, again, smart, intelligent peaks. Awareness. Knowing when to go for height as opposed to when not to go for height. Even not playing to his strength there, right? What he wanted to do, which is always take height, realized he didn't have what he needed for it, decided to go low. He uses his last 10 builds as efficient as possible, makes 2 box, sprints forward, makes another box, gets a pick, uses that siphon to essentially take height, full boxes, doesn't take any 50 peaks, right hand peaks, and then basically just out hits his opponent to get the win. And now we're going into the last game.
Damn, it's actually unbelievable.
I'm so good. Let's go.
Okay. You can hear him go. You're actually unbelievable. 100% true. Now, he's already gotten 2 eliminations here. Got grapple again. Now, this is not as clean as a game as you can already kind of tell. He's kind of in the mid towards zone. He's going to probably wait till backside and then fling forward with his grapple. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's waiting. Wants to get this guy off his lair, get him to go. Love this, right? That's the lair he wanted to play, so what does he do? Good job of catching himself there again. Just so much worse if he goes lower there, right? And all that congestion. And he's still got one more grapple. Just pressuring this guy off this lair, maybe looking for a pick, seeing if he can get anything, which he doesn't. Uses the 1 grapple. Look at that again, staying in that upward layer. Using the wood to waste. Same thing, backward start. Doesn't full send. Right there, right? Just gets a little bit of chip damage. Now, only has about 20 builds. Notice utility is down. So what's going to end up happening is the person sits on a right-hand peak and 1 pumps him. But look at how much he wins by. It wasn't even close. He didn't need that last game. He had already won in game number 5. But overall, you can kind of see why Cam is so successful. One, there's an obvious game plan we use to the grapple. It's the execution of the mat usage off the grapple. It's the execution of being stable, stay on layers. It's the execution of getting out of sticky situations and the awareness to do so. And then it's the ability to know when to go for height and how to execute when you have that opportunity, when you decide to full send and go for height. Cam demonstrates all those things, and definitely, again, a couple things you need to be implementing. Use of shadow bombs, especially, kind of will help with your end games now that there's a little bit more mobility. Obviously, grapple still reigns supremes. Backwards ramp pinking, I'll reiterate that always, because almost every pro I've reviewed does it to get that extra information. And then executing your height takes, and then mat conservation, using your mats efficiently while grappling and not overbuilding. But guys, that is going to do it for today's VOD review. I hope that you did enjoy. If you did, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. And I hope I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.